Hello, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. Well, if you're like me, then you're on the road and travel to a lot of hotels, but so many of them are nondescript vanilla cookie cutter. Whether it's the lobby or inside your room, what unique experience do you get, and what about the level of service? If you took away the pen and the pad in your room, then could you even describe where you were? That experience and level of service in too many hotels is missing, but Doug Browne is the president of the Peabody Hotels and Resorts, the South's Grand Hotel, and he's a subject matter expert at customer experience and customer service. And on this episode, we'll discuss how to create the ultimate customer experience, brilliant customer service, the world-famous Peabody Ducks, mani-pedis, our mutual love for diving, why Michael Jordan was a better basketball player and also a better hotel guest than LeBron James, and that awkward channel in your hotel room that won't go away. You know, the one about the hotel. So let's tune in to a duck master with a master shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Doug, thank you so much for joining me today on A Shark's Perspective. If you would please tell us a little bit about your career and your background to date.
Well, Shark, good morning.
Good morning.
Should we go swimming, or do you really want to talk?
I really want to talk.
Well, a little bit about my career. Well, funny enough that you're Shark, I grew up in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So, and I actually was a scuba instructor as a kid. So I'm now certified. But my career started really, I think, because of my parents. My parents were in the hotel business, and I grew up living in great five-star resorts, and it was kind of in my blood. And so I've gone to hotel school, have several degrees in hotel and restaurant management, and then have come up through my career. I started at the very bottom, started as a dishwasher, and have worked everywhere in the hotel, except for Kelly's job and accounting. I don't like numbers, but I've worked around the world, worked in some great and beautiful places around the world and around the United States, and come up through the ranks and have worked for some great companies like Westin and Hyatt, Sofer Hotels, which nobody knows anymore. Yeah. Shows my age a little. Worked for Disney coming out of college, which was a great experience. And I've been with Peabody now for 16 years and love it.
Well, we were talking about a different experience a few years ago when you were on my TV and radio shows. I was a much thinner shark at the time. But
Me too.
Let's talk. No, you
and less gray hair.
Less gray hair, yeah. But let's talk a little bit about customer experience. That's sort of the theme of the day. So I'm also curious about the Peabody Hotel, the Grand Hotel of Memphis in the South. But who are some of the biggest stars that you've gotten to encounter over the years? I mean, I see the autographed footballs and basketballs everywhere. The pictures with you and every big star in the world on. Who have you gotten to meet and entertain and have as your guests?
Oh, we've had numerous. I guess probably one of my favorite recent ones is Justin Timberlake, and
from just north of here, and he stays at the Peabody.
And he stays here, and he's a great guy. He loves Memphis and loves the Peabody, and. But Priscilla stays here quite often. Priscilla Presley and Lisa Marie has stayed here, and we've had Steven Seagal. We've had Cougar Mellencamp. We've on and on. We've had Pink here, Katy Perry.
A lot of
one
stars.
Of my all-time favorites. Obviously, I think he's the best NBA player ever, Michael Jordan.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and I've got one of his balls right here, signed. Many presidents. Obviously, both Bushes. The Clintons.
But Jordan is so much more important.
Oh, Jordan. No question. Jordan.
Has LeBron stayed here?
Has LeBron stayed here? I don't know. I don't think he has. I don't think his team. Stays.
I think overall Jordan would probably be a better hotel guest than LeBron, just like he was a player.
Oh, well, there's no question there. You're not going to get any argument with me. I have a really good friend who's with Nike, Willie Gregory, and in one of their videos, they tout LeBron as being one of the greatest players ever. And I told him he couldn't show that video at our hotel unless he changed it to make Michael Jordan.
Sure. One thing to add real quick, I think it's amazing that Justin Timberlake's parents live 10, 15 miles up the street, and he stays at the Peabody. So
Wow.
that's a pretty nice when you've trumped the parents. So one of the things that we've spoken about not that long ago before this was the value of customer experience, especially at hotels. And I recently was talking about this with two of my friends, world famous marketers like Jay Bayer and Martin Lindstrom. And they, like me, travel a lot, but it's hard to find out where you are because you're kind of lost when you walk into most hotels and the experiences they have. And so many hotels right now are pretty vanilla, nondescript. Elaborate, if you will, on what customer experience means to you, and how you as a leader really help push that down to where you're not only reaching the senior management staff and your other leaders, to the bellmen, to the chefs, to the maids and all the people that keep the rooms clean. That is such a powerful experience, especially at a hotel, to look at customer experience that way. But what do you sort of see as the value of that, especially in this industry and for your hotel?
Well, I really think that no matter what industry you're talking about, customer service is number one.
Oh, couldn't agree more.
It doesn't matter.
It's the differentiator
if
today.
you're at a fast food restaurant, or if you're shopping for your medicines, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're going grocery shopping, I think customer service is number one. And I think so many businesses often miss that, and then they wonder why they're not successful or why they're not doing well. And everybody has problems. I mean, let's face it, when you've got such a low unemployment, hiring is very difficult, and finding the right associate. And, all too often, I think leaders that are hiring tend to fill positions with bodies rather than filling them with the right person. And so we go to great lengths at really trying to make sure that we're hiring people who have, in their DNA as part of being in customer service. And we put our teams through a lot of training. But the reality is, if it's not in them, you can train as much as you want, but if that passion isn't inside somebody to begin with, that's something that's hard to teach. So we actually just we had all of our leaders read The Best Team Wins by Adam Robinson. And in his book, he talks a lot about hiring the right people, hiring people who have a passion for service and for taking care of people and doing things. And so we've worked with all of our leaders to make sure that as we go through the hiring process, those are the questions we're asking, that we're digging out and finding out, does this person really have down deep inside what it takes to give great service? The technical side of it we can teach, so that's what have focused a lot on in the last year, and we're starting to see some great benefits from it. And of course, we've always been famous for our service, and it's one of the things we hang our hats on, and we like to create memories for guests. And if you have time, I want to tell you, we created a program about 3 or 4 years ago called the WOW program. And it's basically any one of our 550 associates. It doesn't matter where they work. It doesn't matter if it's a steward, a housekeeper, a front desk clerk, a valet parker. It doesn't matter where the position is. They can spend up to $250 to make a guest happy.
Wow.
If they don't have to ask for permission, approval, or anything else, the key is to make that guest happy. Now, a lot of people say, oh, so if you did something wrong or you made a mistake or whatever, this is how you fix it. No, this is not a program geared for, service recovery. It's really geared towards, hey, you're checking in and we find out it's your birthday or your anniversary or you just had a loss in your family or whatever it is, something happened in your life, and we want to make this visit special. That's what that's for. Service recovery is a whole another ball game, and that we have to fix.
Sure.
And service recovery, if you make a mistake, it's how do you come back from that? How do you fix it? And 9 times out of 10, you can make an extremely loyal guest out of somebody who had a problem. It's just how did you fix it? But the WOW program has been very successful, and most people say, "Oh, how can you allow 200, 550 associates spend up to $250?" They're much more frugal than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if most businesses would focus on service, they would create an experience for their customers that would be above and beyond.
Yeah, I agree. How do you then take the in-room experience? I know one thing, and elevate that. Another one of my friends who's a superstar marketer, Ann Hanley, does a brilliant speech where she talks about if you take the logo off of a product, a lot of products, then do you know if it's yours? And if I used to use a silly test with hotel rooms. If you woke up in a panic and you had to call the police and they said, describe where you are. In a lot of generic hotels, you wouldn't have a clue.
Right.
Until you walked up to the front desk and eventually asked them or saw that on the logo in the door or a pen or a pad. How do you elevate that in-room experience? I mean, the lobby here is amazing. The bar is amazing. The piano playing is amazing. All these types of things that elevate your hotel and a lot of others, but also inside the room.
Well, if I can, I want to tell you a quick little story
Yeah.
that kind of goes to what you're talking about. So a couple of months ago, I was talking to my son, and I'm not going to mention the name of the brand, but one of the big brands had created a new brand, and it seems like there's a new brand every day, but they had created a new brand, and it was geared towards the millennials.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really wanted my son's take on what he thought of it, and so I told him about it, and he said, Dad, funny enough, I've actually been to one of them and seen it and seen their rooms and everything else. And he said, it's cool and it's nice and everything else. I said, well, great. I said, how do you think it's going to do? He said, well, he said, I heard that they've now sold like 300 franchises of them. He said, but I've already seen it, so I don't need to see the other 299. And it dawned on me, and it threw a light on in my head that, this is the mistake I think that a lot of the big brands
Mm-hmm.
are making,
Mm-hmm.
is that they're creating these new cool things, but then they're just cookie cuttering them, and the reality is they all kind of blend together and they all look the same. Recently, I was traveling too, to add to that story, and I stayed at 4 or 5 different hotels, and they all included breakfast in their thing. But the thing was, to your point that you were mentioning, the breakfast was exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
They were all 5 different brands, but the breakfasts down to the bacon brand, the eggs, everything, even
Runny eggs,
the Danish,
Cheerios.
yeah, everything was exactly the same.
Yeah.
It was the same brand, and they're buying it on big amounts, and
Right.
they've got buying powers, but it's exactly the same, and it's cheap quality. So yeah, you're giving something away for free, but the quality of it isn't very good. It's just kind of like everybody who touts free Wi-Fi, but the quality of the Wi-Fi is not very good. I would rather pay the $10 a day for Wi-Fi and get really good quality Wi-Fi than to get it for free and not be able to do anything on it. So now to go to here, obviously, we renovate about every 5 years our guest rooms, which is far earlier than the rest of the industry. But our ownership, all of us get heavily involved in really creating an experience in that room, and that it's unique. We hire designers and everything else, so that when we do a renovation, I mean, it really looks different. Every time we've done a renovation, I've been here now 16 years, and I think this is like our 4th one that we've done, and every one of them is completely different. I think this one is the best one we've ever done. But every time we really try to look at what are the trends and everything else, and really try to change with it. Unlike, if you go to a lot of the brands,
Yeah.
everything looks the same. It's like going to IKEA and you just
Exactly.
bought
Yeah.
everything, the same. And so, really try to create a unique experience. There's only a few things in this hotel that we don't change.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the flower arrangement in the lobby. There are certain things that they're iconic,
Right.
so you just don't change them. But everything around it, all of the, as you mentioned earlier, the fluff or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
we try to really stay with, what are the colors that are fitting right now, and what is the look, and one of the things that we recently installed, but they're very tastefully kind of hidden, is all of our sofas in the lobby have now outlets, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can plug in and everything else. Well, that's not unusual. Everybody does it, but everybody does it by having a table and the outlet sitting in the middle or whatever else. Ours are tastefully, hidden, and so that you keep the decor and the luxury and everything else, but we still are meeting the needs of our customers.
Sure. Well, and to your point, some of those iconic things, I just came back from Vegas, and if you go to where experience is so key for all the hotels now, it goes beyond just the shows and the slot machines anymore. It's all about the experience inside the hotel.
The casinos have actually gotten
It's
smaller.
much smaller. Yeah, some of them tout that they have the biggest. I just went into one that said it had the biggest slot machine floor, and it was so much smaller than it used to be from when
Right.
I'd gone a few years ago. But if you look at the Wynn or the Bellagio in particular, those, whether you pop in day one, same here. You pop in day one or you pop in a few years from now or a few weeks from now, it still has, having that iconic appeal to it really makes it stand out
Right.
as well. And it has a lot of experience. You're a world traveler. You just got back not that long ago from one of my favorite places in the world, Monaco, which actually has some decent diving around the Riviera. What do you see as successful experiences in those types of hotels, especially the larger international ones, that you like to bring back and emulate and make certain that you're doing the same thing here?
It's interesting that you ask. I actually just met yesterday with Katie, our spa director of Feather Spa here at the hotel, and I'm a spa junkie. Everywhere I go, I have to visit the spa. But I stayed at the Monte
You'll
Carlo.
admit to mani-pedis then.
Huh?
You'll admit to mani-pedis.
Oh, I will. You know what? I think women have really been mean to men over the years because they never really told us about pedicures.
Yeah.
And I finally went a few years ago, and I'm hooked. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the greatest thing ever, and I think women have kept it
Yeah.
a secret from us.
Yeah.
But I stayed at the Monte Carlo Bay Hotel and Resort, and what a great hotel. Incredible. The staff was over the top. It's a preferred hotel, and the Peabody's a preferred hotel, and the staff was just unbelievable. I had a couple of experiences. But I sat down with Katie and talked to her about their spa and some of the things that they did that was really unique. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting was every service that they did. It didn't matter if it was a facial, a massage, a loofah scrub, a pedicure, whatever. Every service started and ended the same way, no matter what treatment it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting. I'd never seen that done before. And Katie hadn't seen it done. And when I explained it, she said, "Oh, that's really cool what they do." But if you're getting a massage, for example, or a facial, the person gets you settled and everything else, and all of a sudden you hear this ding. It's like this charm. And then they kind of touch you right on your chest,
Mm-hmm.
and they have you do this breathing thing, and then they start and then they end it the same way. They end touching your chest, having you do this breathing, and then ding.
Mm-hmm.
But what was cool about it was that every service, no matter where you were, started and ended the same way. And it was just an interesting new touch, or something I'd never seen done before. But they did one thing that I thought was really interesting. We had a group of us had gone to the big casino there that's famous, that James
stayed
Bond.
there. Yeah.
And we had gone up there, and a lot of their shopping was up there, and we were up there, and we had taken a taxi back to the hotel. And one of the people in our group left their cell phone, in the taxi cab. and didn't realize it until we had gotten into the lobby and then ran back out. But the taxi had left, so the valet called the taxi cab company, and the taxi cab company tracked down the taxi cab driver, who really wasn't very nice. Because he said, "Well, I'm about to pick up a ride that's going to Nice, and if you want me to bring the phone back, then you're going to have to pay me $90." And and he was being very difficult. And of course, everybody was leaving early the next morning, so we needed the phone back. And the valet said, "Let me have the phone." And the valet talked to him, and they talked in French for a minute. And he hung up. He says, "I'm going to get the hotel car. I'm going to go to the taxi cab driver. I'll pick up the phone and bring it back." And we said, "Really?" And he said, "Yes, I'll do that." So he jumps in the car and he goes and he comes back and he hands the lady the phone. And the lady tried to give him $20. He says, "No, no, no, that's fine. I just want you to have a great experience here in Monte Carlo."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was very cool. That is service.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So we were talking about things that we do. So one of the fun things we do is once a year I take all of our leaders. We have about 75, 80 leaders in the hotel, and we take them to an offsite retreat, and we spend a week going over what is our mission this year. And our mission doesn't change a lot. It's just we look at different directions to go at. It's always service and quality and delivery, but it's how can we do it better? How can we innovate and everything else? And at 2 years ago, it came out that we took, I guess, 4 or 5 groups of our leaders, and we actually sent them to other cities to go visit luxury hotels and hotels that are known for creativity and everything else, whether it was in San Francisco, Chicago, New York, wherever. And they went as a group and they actually visited those hotels and walked around and got ideas and everything else, and then came back and we talked about them. They actually put together a great presentation to the executive committee of a list of the things that they saw and things that they thought we should implement, which was very cool.
Well, it just shows with it, like with anything else, you can have the greatest hotel in the South or in the world, and you still have to learn from others. So it's great to see them do that. So, we know, if we know today that customer experience is so vital, there's more so than ever, though, there's so many competitors and challengers there with so many new, nondescript vanilla hotels popping up. You've got Airbnb offerings, which I find hard for a lot of people to dislike hotels, and then they go brag about Airbnb, because really that market is targeting millennials, which is not good or bad. It's just what it is. And for the most part, millennials are looking for more for experience. However, Airbnb is really more focused on a price competition. That's sort of the birth of them, with a different kind of experience. How do you start looking at all the competitors coming after the Peabody's business, or what advice would you give any hotel president anywhere?
I don't think the Peabody competes with Airbnb,
No.
So it's not. But I think in the
But
hotel
you got a dozen
world,
of hotels easily around this downtown, and in any downtown.
yeah, it affects them. It also affects compression in
Yes.
cities and everything else, which eventually affects average rates and everything else. But I think where the hotel industry has a problem with Airbnb is the unfair playing field when it comes to them paying, whether it's sales taxes, bed taxes, hotel fees, and those kind of things, and having some kind of a minor, health certificate requirement, whether it's, having a fire extinguisher in every, house, or, meeting certain little requirements. I think that's probably, the biggest thing. But it's interesting. I never thought of this. I was at a dinner not too long ago where we had a speaker of a hotel company, a small hotel company, speaking, and he talked about an experience that he had with Airbnb, and he said, "I hate to even be admitting publicly that I actually stayed, being a hotel owner, at an Airbnb," but he said, "I was headed to Rome, to Italy, and I was going with our family. It was a family reunion, so we needed 5 rooms. So it ended up being better for us to rent a house, and then getting 5 rooms at a hotel and getting them all on the same floor and everything else. And he said, so we rented a house. We get to Rome, and I, as he said, his luggage had gotten lost. And the minute he said that, I said, Alitalia, because every time I fly Alitalia, my luggage is lost, and they're not very helpful. But sure enough, he had flown Alitalia. They lost his bags, and so he, filed, the thing. They said, oh, you'll get it tomorrow, and everything else. So the family gets checked into the Airbnb, and the next day they go out to tour. Well, the luggage was tried to be delivered, but of course no one's there. And of course there's no one to sign for it or anything else. So they didn't leave the bags, and they went back. So now he still has no bags. So now he calls again. They said, well, we tried to deliver it, but there was nobody there. And he said, okay, can you deliver it tomorrow? And they said, yes, we'll be there at 2 to deliver it. So he said, okay. He sent the family out, and they toured. He had to stay home and wait for the bags. Well, 2 o'clock comes and goes, no bag arrives. His whole afternoon of his vacation is ruined because he's sitting waiting for these bags to be delivered. Long story short, he has to call them again. They said, well, we'll deliver them tomorrow, but they had already scheduled this thing. So he got the owner of the house to agree that they would meet the person if they were called. Well, then, long story short, the owner's cell phone dies and the bag doesn't get delivered. And he said, had I been staying at a hotel, this wouldn't have been a problem because the hotel would have received my bags. The bags would have been placed in my room and everything else. He said, so for me, Airbnb is not the right place, and I won't ever stay in one again. But it is for other people.
Sure. I got friends. I tell them all the time, if they come to Memphis, you got to stay at the Peabody.
Yeah.
Got to go to Beale Street, things like that. And then some will say, well, and go to Airbnb. And I'm like, no, it's not this. There's no equivalent in the experience. So for those that don't know, the hotel has a large fountain in the lobby, and every day a duck master walks a flock of ducks from a really beautiful rooftop enclosure, which is a nice little room, good customer experience for the ducks. And down the elevator they come and into the fountain a couple of times a day, where you easily can find, I've been here a couple times when there were 100+ people standing in the lobby, to watch these ducks in the fountain. They've been featured on The Tonight Show, Oprah, People Magazine, Sesame Street, and I think even the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, which was funny. How do you think that the ducks have added to the customer experience for your guests? Because it is so often that I hear even Martin Lindstrom, world famous Martin Lindstrom, the marketer, talks in a lot of his speeches about the added value that these ducks bring to an experience.
So I'm gonna circle around and tie back to an earlier discussion we had. But I think the ducks is part of what is a great, unique experience.
Absolutely.
That you just don't see anywhere else. And I'm going to correct you a little bit. It's more like 300 or 400 people at every march.
Yeah.
That is usually a slow day for us.
Yeah.
And I've been here 16 years, and every time I watch the march, I'm always intrigued at the duck march and watching the people and everything else. But, the duck march, is an experience, and you see it, and our lobby is an experience. It's beautiful and great. But at the end of the day, it comes back to service.
Yeah.
The guests that come into the hotel, if they don't receive a great service and a great experience, you can have a duck march, you can have whatever it is.
Such a great point.
It'll come back to, did they have a great experience, and was the service good, and was the staff attentive? And, at every duck march, our security is all helpful, but they're not really, yes, they are keeping an eye on everything, but they also act as ambassadors. We have leaders that are up there watching to make sure that everybody has a great experience. And Kelly and her team have worked over the years on figuring better ways to do the duck march so it's beneficial for everybody.
Well, to your point earlier when we were talking about how does a leader do it, you're addressing something that every point of the experience has to be addressed, not just you don't want them to remember that they had bad service in the room, but the ducks were cute.
Right.
Because that kills it all.
Right.
So, well, have there been, you've got this beautiful bar located near the fountain where you walk the ducks in and they hang out down there. But being that near to a bar with Tennessee whiskey, are there any good stories or any potential duck nappings that you've encountered over the years or anything? You live in the South, it's duck season on occasion. You see anybody up with a duck call and perched on a balcony or
No.
Thank goodness.
We keep an eye on the ducks. We don't.
Yeah.
The ducks are close and dear to our hearts, so we watch them very closely. But yeah, we've had all kinds of crazy things happen at the bar.
Well, I've read over the 90-year history of the hotel and the fountain that you've not only had ducks, but also rumors of turtles and baby alligators. I think what's really going to help put Peabody Hotel on the map, though, is to have some baby sharks in it.
Baby sharks.
You bring them down in an aquarium, and you could, instead of having the duck master do the call, you could play baby shark as they walk in to annoy all of them. But I think that would put it over the top. So how do you see the future of customer experience evolving, in the future for the hotel industry in particular and also for the Peabody Hotel Group? What do you think customers are going to come to expect? That's going to have to be an advancement of even where you are today. I mean, you can be 5-star, but you got to aim for 6.
I think that the future of customer service is going to, in some ways, I'm going to say not change, because good customer service is good customer service. But I think what we can constantly become better at is being able to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of our customer, so that we can kind of see what that customer is going to want before they even know they want it. And in some cases, technology may help with that. Mm-hmm. But the key is being able to be 1 step ahead of that mm-hmm. customer, so that when they ask for it, it's mm-hmm. put in front of them. And they don't ask for it and they say, "Isn't this neat? I don't get this at other places." Yeah. And again, I think goes back to what we first started talking about. It's hiring the right people. Yeah. That's going to be the most important part of it. So one of the most important questions that I have to ask you today is, what is your favorite kind of shark and why? I knew you were going to ask me a shark story, but I'm not going to tell you what my favorite shark is, but I am going to tell you a funny shark story. Okay. So I was in college a long, long time ago. This was in 1978. I was at FIU. It's my senior year, and I had this crush on this girl, and she had invited me to a party at her house. And I'd never gone out with her, but I thought, I really want to win points. And I'd heard that she had this big, huge fish tank, and that she loved fish, and she bought all kinds of exotic fish and everything else. So I thought, people are going to bring a bottle of wine. Some people may bring flowers or food or whatever. I thought, I'm going to go to a pet shop, and I'm going to buy an exotic fish to bring for her big aquarium. Yeah. And so I got there, and they had all kinds of stuff, but they had a baby shark. And it wasn't very big. Yeah. It probably was only about 6 inches long or whatever. And it wasn't cheap. Now, keep in mind, this was in 1978, and I think it was like $40 or $50, which was a lot of money then, right, especially for a college kid. Sure. But she was really cute. Yeah. And it was a shark. And it was a shark. Yeah. And I thought, how cool is that? So I bought it, right? And of course I get there, and she was excited. When she saw it, she was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool." Well, that was your differentiator with all the other college guys. It separated me from the rest. Anyway, long story short, she couldn't wait. She puts it in, her aquarium, and of course the shark is, and it's a big aquarium. She obviously loved her aquarium. Anyway, the party happened, everything, it was great, and I made a ton of points and everything else, and I went home, and the next day I get a call, and she is so angry at me, and I just got an earful. Well, I guess overnight the shark had eaten a whole bunch of the smaller, and some of them were really exotic fish.
Yeah.
And so needless to say,
Yeah.
it ended.
And then you got a piranha to replace it.
Yeah.
Where's your favorite place to dive?
My favorite place to dive, I would say right off the Cayman Islands.
Yeah. Well, can't beat it. All right. So, Doug, it is that special time in the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
Sure.
All right. Here we go. Memphis barbecue at one of the bazillion area restaurants, or the prime filet mignon at the 4-star Chez Philippe at the Peabody Hotel?
Oh, I would have to say first and foremost Chez Philippe. But barbecue, I would really upset a lot of friends if I told you a favorite. So I'm going to say there is no bad barbecue in Memphis. It's all great.
Yeah, you need to find a place that looks like a 1-star,
right?
Where you're going to be robbed
the
inside the restaurant. Yeah, but no, they have the best. So, question 2: the one Drake male North American mallard in your Peabody Ducks family, or international superstar singer Drake?
Oh, I would have to go with our Drake.
He's got better green hair.
Yeah.
Well, that channel when you turn on your room in the hotel, the one about the hotel with that awkward music that never ends, or any other channel on your TV?
Oh, I'm going to go with any other channel.
Agreed. The beaches of Puerto Rico where you grew up, or the French Riviera where you just visited?
Oh, Puerto Rico.
And we're in Puerto Rico, and you were in...
So I lived in different places. The largest amount of time was in San Juan or the Condado. Okay. But as a young kid, I lived out in Dorado Beach, and the beaches out there are incredible.
And the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Biscuits.
Good man. So, Doug, where can people find out more about you, the great customer experience at the Peabody, and more?
On our website, peabodymemphis.com. It's probably the best place.
Good deal. Thank you so much, Doug, for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Oh, Shark, thank you.
So there was my conversation with Doug Browne, the president of the Peabody Hotels and Resorts, the South Grand Hotel, and he's a subject matter expert at customer experience and customer service. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, Doug articulated such an amazingly important point that applies for any company. It's that it still comes down to hiring the right people that makes the difference. As he said, with such low unemployment, leaders tend to fill positions with bodies rather than the right person. But he makes a point to hire people who have that level of service in their DNA. The technical skills you can teach, but what's inside will make the difference. Like any really smart leader, he's looking for people to serve, and I say serve in all caps, his customers. Second, the differentiator for a lot of companies is about service. If your product or service is bad, then your marketing and advertising is simply cosmetic and not in a good way. Yes, you can make a mistake, and as he points out, that service recovery, it's how you come back from that. But you can make an extremely loyal guest out of someone who's had a problem. But as Doug said, and I quote, if most businesses would focus on service, they would create an experience for their customers that would be above and beyond. And I completely agree. And remember that every point of the experience has to be addressed. Good customer service is not just about how you respond, but also anticipating something and then going beyond. Again, as he reiterated, it's that it goes back to hiring the right people. Even a powerful or unique experience can be destroyed if you don't address all the touch points, from person to product and service. Third, one of my favorite Ann Hanley topics that she references often is that if you take the logo off of a product, then would your customers recognize your brand? And with so many hotels, they offer no differentiation. You can name them something different and throw more plants in the lobby or extra pillows in the room, but people want something unique and not just the same runny eggs that coexist with every hotel chain. It's, as Doug said, try to, in every way, create a unique experience. Even with the furniture in the lobby of the Peabody Hotel, there are some things in there that are common to other hotels, but the aesthetic and the decorum of the hotel is always uniquely their own. I don't want to wake up in a hotel, walk through the lobby, and think that I've just jumped out of an IKEA catalog. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. It's been my honor to serve you today, discussing another one of the many components that makes up marketing today. So give your customers a great experience, at least by giving them great service. And join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.